Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show. Coming at you live today from Utah County. We're down at Toyota Orem. Now, it used to be Brent Brown Toyota. You're familiar with that lot, that dealership. Now coming to you as Toyota Orem. Great customer experience. That's what the focus is now under the new leadership. And I drove onto the lot this morning, took a little meander around. Let me tell you, if you're in the market for a truck, now's the time to consider it. Unbelievable deals on Tundras and Tacomas. Come on down to 1400 Sand Hill Road in Orem, just off that University Parkway exit. Say hello. We got some things to give away. We'll be hanging out for the next 3 hours or so. So we'd love to see you down here at Orem Toyota, Toyota Orem. I'll say it both ways throughout the show. We've got a fun show lined up for you. Bill Riley is going to stop by on a Friday, as he often does. We'll talk about Utah football situation and, of course, Utah basketball. He is the voice of the Utes. He's on that hoop duty right now, so we'll get to some of that with Bill. BYU in action tomorrow against the University of Colorado in a bowl game contest, which, even though it didn't work out the way that the dyed-in-the-wool BYU fans wanted it to with a college football playoff spot and a Big 12 championship, this to me is a very worthy consolation prize for the football fan. And if you're a fan of storylines and a fan of somebody who likes to see all the layers to the onion and the wrinkles in the college football world, I mean, heading into a year where Coach Prime was like kind of he was in a prove-it year, not anywhere near a hot seat, but there were a lot of folks that emerged after the experiment at Colorado last year and the way that he talked early last year that were rooting for Coach Prime to fail. And we're saying this is all about flash and this is all about gold chains and diamond necklaces and all about fancy, expensive watches and your players driving cars. But there's no substance to this. And there's a cool factor with Deion and a cool factor with Colorado that everybody in college football is probably a little bit jealous of, if we're being honest. And then on the flip side of that, you have the BYU branding, right? Where Kalani Sitake has continued to lean in to what BYU is as a representative of the LDS Church and not just a football program. And they've built this kind of aw shucks, wholesome, we're just going to put our heads down and keep working and we're going to win, even though you didn't expect things from us this year. That's what the storylines were heading into the year for Colorado and for BYU. And with BYU, it was like, you know what? We don't think you're going to be good this year. And it turned out that they were pretty darn good. And now we get a matchup between these two conference opponents who will meet one another in a bowl game, even though they missed one another in the regular season. I love this. I love all the storylines we can pull out of this, and we'll talk about plenty of them today because Jerem Jordan's going to join us in our noon hour. And then Josh Newman, formerly on the Utes beat, now a man who covers the University of Texas, who, of course, is part of that college football playoff experience. We'll talk with Josh Newman about the landscape of college football, see what the kind of zoomed-out national view of what's going on with Utah is, and, of course, talk about the Texas Longhorns, who have plenty of connections to the state of Utah and to BYU with Sark and all that stuff. So lots to get to on the program today. The numbers are out from the LeBron statement of, hey, you know, Christmas Day is our day, and the NFL kind of sitting back and chuckling a little bit. James Peterson, it is not indeed Christmas Day is not the NBA's day anymore. Did you see these numbers?
I did, and yeah, it's not a good day for LeBron and his statement. I mean, you can understand. Obviously, he's trying to pump up the league and trying to get more interest in the league, but also, I mean, that was just the end of a fantastic battle between him and Steph, Lakers Warriors. But yeah, we all knew it. We all knew the NFL's numbers were going to dwarf him.
Well, I honestly, I didn't think the NFL's numbers were going to dominate like this over the NBA's. for those of you who have seen the articles, you probably are already aware. Streaming metrics are a little bit different than traditional television ratings, and the way that they gather viewership numbers are a little bit different on streaming platforms. So you do have to give it a little bit of wiggle room there. For at least 1 minute of the Netflix NFL games, 65 million viewers tuned in for at least 1 minute of gameplay on Netflix. And that's interesting in the Netflix world and in the streaming world, because even though I think 1 minute is an unfair sample size to try and give yourself any credit for, it's not like a traditional television world where you're just like scrolling through channels. And I don't even know how many people do that anymore because of the television guide technology when you have satellite TV or you have even cable right now. But on Netflix, you're not just saying channel up, channel up, channel up, channel up, channel up, or channel down, channel down, channel down, and just seeing what pops up on your screen. That's not how it works on Netflix, right? You have to select NFL games that are being streamed on a platform where they previously were not streamed. So 65 million people for at least 60 seconds of their Christmas day. That's American televisions, by the way, American households. 65 million took a little gander at NFL football on Christmas Day, and the average numbers on the games were 24 million plus. For games that we talked about a lot yesterday, weren't even good games, weren't even compelling, like, fun games to watch necessarily. Whereas the NBA games that were good, and we gave you many different examples of why they were so good and how they were so good, well, those games, they drew about 5 million viewers. So if you're just taking the averages, and that's probably the right way to do this, 24 million plus for the NFL, 5 million for the NBA. So the NFL 5x'd your draw as an NBA product that gave you elite showcase games that turned out to be really fun games to watch, featuring the best players in the league. And folks tuned in, 20% of the folks that wanted to see the NFL wanted to see NBA basketball on Christmas Day, even though you have established yourself there for decades. Look, maybe you need the Christmas Day uniforms that for whatever reason they got away from. That was a fun thing that I saw players talking about on social media as well, that it was kind of a bummer they didn't have those this year, and I don't know why the NBA would go away from that, because it's not like they are far more variable in their uniforms than the NFL is, right? There's the alternate colors, there's the road games, there's the city editions and all that stuff.
They're Oregon college football in the NBA right now with the amount of different uniform variations. So yeah, that would have been that's a smart thing to go back to.
They should go back to it. I think they will eventually go back to it, especially as they look at, oh geez, that number. And you know, I don't begrudge LeBron trying to like stake his claim and plant his flag, because the NBA audience, seeing him say that, loved it. And it's the rest of us that are trying to punk him for it now. The NBA audience that was watching that Warriors and Lakers game and was incredibly satisfied by the product, by what they saw in that game, those folks were like, yeah, you know what it is? This is the NBA's day. NBA and Christmas do go together. He was speaking to his audience there, and that's fine.
It's almost like in politics, campaign season, they talk about they're speaking to their base and not doing the broad appeal. That's what LeBron was doing there. And of course
You're absolutely right.
Of course he got a bunch of people who were of course there was a bunch of NBA people on Twitter and other social media platforms trying to clap back at people who are pointing out how the NFL dwarfed their numbers, their ratings number again, and saying, no, it is Christmas Day, didn't you see? And it's like, yeah, like LeBron doing that fired a lot of the base NBA fan up, but it still doesn't change the fact that the NFL certainly has more broad appeal.
And again, we always talk about these ratings, and is it direct competition for eyeballs, for dollars, for there are I would say most NFL fans are at least willing to take in some NBA, and a lot of that will shift when the NFL season is over. Some of that attention will shift over to the NBA. It's just when you're saying who is king in a concurrent programming world, nobody can stand up to the NFL. We talked about this on the show yesterday, and I'm not telling you something that you don't know, but the NFL has, in the United States of America, emerged as king of the castle, and nobody is going to be able to dethrone that. Everyone else is waiting for the king to eat first, and they will take the advertising dollars and the television sets and all the trickle-down economics after the NFL feasts and takes what it wants. And right now, the NFL seems to be in a conquest mode where it's going to take what it wants in terms of real estate on broadcast platforms and on broadcast times and broadcast days. Because Christmas Day used to belong, like LeBron said, to the NBA. Well, that's a used to. There were 2 NFL games, James. If you did a slate of 5 NFL games, like the NBA gave us 5 NBA games, then all of us from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. would be watching NFL on Christmas.
Yeah,
it would be bad for a lot of relationships if the NFL did that.
You'd have to start it at like 6 or 7 a.m. too, because it's a much longer game than an NBA game. But
you do one over there in London, right? You do a London game, and then you just roll out the rest of the day.
You know what's going to happen? I told you my thoughts on Boxing Day a little bit yesterday. They're going to have a London Boxing Day game. Why not? Right?
The NFL is going to start like finding the obscure holidays in whatever random countries and just be like, hey, we're doing an NFL game on Simon Bolivar Day down in Bolivia. All right?
Yeah.
People will be like, all right, I guess we're going to an NFL game today. I guess that's what we're watching. Because just everything they touch turns into NFL gold. And that's, look, if you have that muscle as a brand, you flex it. And they have, and they will continue to do so. And the numbers are in, and I there's no real like hot take to generate from it. It's just, okay, the NFL is king.
Yeah,
and my hope is, as the landscape of college sports is altered drastically and continues to be altered drastically, my hope is that the NFL doesn't just decide that, like, you know what, college football people are losing some interest, or college football is starting to rattle its own base. Let's take that too. Saturdays are now ours.
Yeah, that would be disastrous, I think, for the even more disastrous, I think, for the sports world at large than the NBA continuing to be dwarfed by the NFL, because we've gotten used to that. College football doing that happening to college football would be pretty catastrophic in my opinion. But I was going to say, and I apologize for almost interrupting you there, but if you're an NBA fan, if you're a big Utah Jazz fan here in this market, if you're an NBA fan, you moved into this market from somewhere else and a big NBA fan, that's your thing, like it is mine, number one. Like, you don't have to be all up in arms about the ratings. Just keep watching. That's the thing too. Like, that kind of stuff, it's become content for sports talk radio and social media and newspaper articles and things, but it's not. It really is for people who are actually trying to make money in that industry. The commissioners of these leagues, the TV execs. It's for that. It's their problem to deal with. It's not the fans' problem. So if you like it, and you're hearing all people dunking on the NBA with this, no pun intended, like, just continue watching the NBA, because it still is a great product, and the other people's choices should not affect your desire to watch the game. I'll just say that. Step up my soapbox there. That's something that comes up a little bit too much when we talk about rating. The NFL got these ratings, this other league got these ratings on this concurrent programming, like you said. We get this, oh, well, I've got a campaign for the sport I love the most. You don't have to. You can just keep watching.
It's a good observation, James, because it's one of the things that's, I don't know, it's a quirk, it's a bugaboo that we can all probably figure out where we stand on when it comes to things like ratings and revenue generation and, like with movies, box office, right? who cares? Like, yes, they're fun for us to talk about. We probably have to care on a sports talk radio station because what the numbers tell you, with the television rating numbers tell you, is that like you can't go wrong with the NFL. We're the home of the Utes. Our ratings might improve if I just talked about Utah players in the NFL nonstop and didn't even pay attention to Kyle Whittingham's program at the University of Utah. If these television numbers are going to be taken at like face value, then you can probably influence yourself a little bit too heavily there. You're right. If you're a sports fan, if your number one favorite thing to watch is NBA basketball, then the NFL is no threat to you. The NBA basketball is it's going to be there. You're one of the 5 million, and you don't have to justify your reason for watching LeBron and Steph Curry battle it out instead of watching Patrick Mahomes versus CJ Stroud. You don't have to justify that to anyone. It like those Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud people are going to be in your boat in February anyway. Then we're all going to be watching NBA basketball more frequently. If you want to know, like, if there's a reason for NBA fans to have any kind of concern about this, and I don't know that there is, and I think that speaks to your point, James. What it's going to do is it's going to make the NBA do some things differently, come up with some different ideas, like the NBA Cup. And you might not like those. Maybe you're a traditionalist fan who doesn't want to see the weird courts, doesn't want to see some in-season tournament, doesn't want to see anything other than pure basketball in the format that you're used to. Then maybe you're going to not like these numbers coming out frequently. But at the end of the day, you're going to have basketball to watch somewhere. Maybe it changes the broadcast deals that the NBA gets next time around. You're still going to be able to find Victor Wembanyama for the next 15 years of your life if you're a basketball fan. It might be on Amazon. It might be on Netflix. It might be on ABC, ESPN. Those things are not for us as fans to be concerned about. We here in the sports media world, we like to talk about them, and it will influence some of the decisions that the NBA has to make to try and win a couple of those battles. And maybe you don't like the ideas that they put into play. Kind of like we were talking about the replay, the AI umpires, instant replay, AI review, the magical at bat, the golden at bat that the MLB has been talking about. Maybe you don't like those ideas. That's the only way that this affects you as a fan of other sports. But right now, the NFL rules the roost in American sports. And I would really be curious, actually. I don't know what like an average viewership number is on like a Tottenham Hotspur versus Liverpool game. I don't know when we're talking about big time, the elite examples of spectacle and sport when it comes to television ratings. Obviously, World Cup soccer draws like unbelievable numbers and will continue to do so. But from a professional sports league standpoint, I assume that top-level soccer in Europe is the only thing that can rival the NFL when it comes to total television sets and total viewers. And I don't know what those numbers really look like. I should probably do a little deep dive into that during one of these breaks and try and figure out if 65 million viewers, at least for a minute or two, on Christmas Day and an average viewership of 25 million or 24 million views is really king-type numbers, or if that just makes you, a strong second place to whatever soccer is doing over in Europe. But on the American sports landscape, as we already knew, and we continue to have these things confirmed to us over and over and over again, the NFL answers to nobody. Wild. That's a wild little aside. I put a tweet out that's getting some response, and I always appreciate when people weigh in on the questions I ask at Real OC Sports. If you're not already following, 877-353-0700 is how you text us on the Dish Pro text line as well. There was a subtle little thing that came out last night, or I saw it for the first time last night, as BYU gears up for their bowl appearance against the University of Colorado. Jay Hill was sitting at a podium answering some questions, and he had a BYU hat on, and it was a BYU logo on the front. And on the side of the hat was this cheeky little Jumpman logo. And the Michael Jordan, the Jordan brand logo on BYU apparel is not something that we've seen a ton of. Now, BYU's been a Nike school, but Jordan brand and Nike they're distinct brands now. And as you know, Jordan brand has started to become the title sponsor, so to speak, the apparel sponsor, the equipment sponsor of college football teams. And let's be honest, that's kind of a win if you can become that very exclusive part of that exclusive club of Jordan brand schools. It's like UCLA, it's Michigan, it's big time programs. And the merchandise, of course, ends up being awesome. And the shoes, especially, the signature shoes. The cool factor of being a Jordan brand university is there's no higher tier than that. So I don't know if that's a subtle announcement from BYU, if that was an accidental, hey, Jay, you shouldn't have worn that thing on camera. I don't know if somebody who has ties to the program just liked that particular fit or liked that particular hat and slapped a BYU Big 12 logo on the front. I don't have any further insight there, but BYU being a Jordan brand school, to me, is just one more oh my gosh, this is another team that you have to worry about if you're the University of Utah making moves that's going to influence recruiting, that's going to influence perception, that's going to influence how people talk about you. And it got me thinking about what are the biggest threats, the real threats to Utah and the dominance that they experienced as a Pac-12 team that had finally established itself in the Power 5 level, many different trips to a Pac-12 championship game. And, of course, 2 of those were championship wins back-to-back. And now you're in a new league. The landscape has changed. The NIL and transfer portal world has altered college football beyond recognition for a lot of people. And there are folks who think, well, that might be the biggest threat. So I came up with my list of what I think could be threats to the University of Utah, because I am not the doomsayer, the sky is falling guy. I think that you had a really bad year in 2024, but you've got one of the best coaches in all of college football still at the helm. You've got a great assistant staff. I like the addition of Jason Beck. I especially like the addition of Devin Dampier, the quarterback who came and followed him from New Mexico. And I would expect that Utah finds a way to rebound next year and you don't have a similar situation next year. But it is a possibility. So what is the biggest threat to this program that could make that reality? I gave you these 4 options. Big college football brands poaching, and obviously I'm talking about poaching your talent in the transfer portal, a major topic of discussion this week. I put the surprise BYU resurgence at number 2. Nobody saw this coming back in August, and it is very much a reality. And it has affected Utah in a very real way, where guys are coming back from their missions, and when they were previously committed to Utah, they are now flipping and going to BYU. You've seen that more than you would if BYU hadn't had this incredible football season. I put internal turmoil, and you get to interpret what that means. We all see the rumors. We all read the message boards. We all have our own sources. Maybe there's things are not quite as copacetic as we are used to them being at the University of Utah. Maybe we've blown that up. Maybe we've overestimated how significant that is. We won't know until we see the product a little bit in spring ball, but especially next fall. Internal turmoil, is that a big threat to Utah having a bounce-back season next year? And then the other rising programs in the Big 12, Arizona State, Colorado, teams that when you were peers in the Pac-12 conference, you didn't necessarily have to worry too much about. Arizona State is one of the big surprises in all of college football nationally. Arizona State being in the college football playoff and being a conference champion this season, that was not on anyone's bingo card. And here we are. Kenny Dillingham's not going to slow down. He's not going to stop recruiting his behind off. He is not going to suddenly forget how to coach these guys as he continues to get more and more talent as success breeds more success. So, those are your options. The biggest threats to Utah football. I should have had room for other because several folks have weighed in and said, well, what about injuries? Injuries are the biggest threat. Injuries have been the biggest threat to Utah's success the last 2 seasons, absolutely. Do we think that's going to continue again? I hope not. Weigh in, let me know. 877-353-0700 on the Dish Pros text line. Tweet at me at RealOC Sports. Vote on the poll. Make sure you stop by. If you're driving around in Utah County, even if you're a BYU fan and you want to talk a little bit of trash, we're just off the University Parkway exit, just east of the freeway, 1400 Sand Hill. It's Orem Toyota. Incredible deals right now on Tundras, on Tacomas, on cars, on SUVs. You can lease a Tacoma right now for as little as $289 a month. That's an unbelievable deal. And I don't know. I've loved those Tacoma trucks ever since they got really popular back in my high school days. So maybe I'm just partial to that compact pickup truck and that whole thing. Anyway, come down, say hello. I'll give you a little Bud Light football. We got some T-shirts. We got some ESPN 700 pens. We got water to give away. We got conversations to have in person. So I'd like to see some of you stop by. Now is the perfect time to buy a car, truck, or SUV from Orem Toyota. Bill Riley's going to join us next. We'll talk a little Utah hoop and, of course, Utah football as they figure out how to protect the roster they've got and to continue to add talent in the transfer portal. Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday, ESPN 700. Sean O'Connell Show coming at you from Toyota Orem down here, right off the University Parkway exit, 1400 Sand Hill Road. Incredible deals right now. Used to be Brent Brown Toyota, now Orem Toyota. Great deals going on with the cars, the trucks, the SUVs. This is the time of year to take advantage of the fact that these dealerships are trying to clear some inventory, make room for all the new models coming in with the new year. I'm telling you, it is the right time to get a great deal on something new or on one of the great used cars they have down here on the lot as well. Come down, tell them that OC sent you. Time to talk a little bit of Utah athletics. Bill Riley, former host in this time slot on ESPN 700, the voice of the Utes, and now the man behind all of the operations up there with the Utah Athletics in their broadcasting department at the University of Utah, joins me on a Friday. Bill Riley, how are you?
Hello, Sean O'Connell. I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Are you just walking around with your chest out all the time because your Kansas City Chiefs can do no wrong? 15-1 in a year where, yes, it's some one-score victories, and yeah, it was supposed to be a year where maybe they returned to earth a little bit, and here they are. They've clinched the number one seed in the AFC. They get to rest people next week if they so choose. Even on a short turnaround playing on Christmas Day, they look like a team that is poised to win a third straight Super Bowl, which of course is unprecedented. And you've been a fan for years and years. So do you just get to walk around with your head held a little bit higher right now, Bill?
Like 47 years to be exact. And I don't know that I have ever properly told you that the Chiefs are 2-0 against your Niners in Super Bowls.
Oh, that's mean. That was mean-spirited. You didn't have to do that, okay? 'Tis the season to be kind to your brethren and to remind me that the San Francisco 49ers have become so tantalizingly close to glory again, only to be pushed back by the Kansas City Chiefs. It is something that I live with every day. And now they didn't even make the playoffs this year.
That's I know they had injuries. That there's something, again, I don't follow them nearly as closely as you do, but there's something that was amiss this year with the Niners. I know they had some injuries. I know some guys missed some time, but there's too much talent, Sean, on that team. When you look at some of the teams that are going to make the playoffs this year, especially in the NFC, for them not to be at least a wild card team. Would you agree?
Yes. I mean, well, first of all, the payroll, that roster tells you that even with a couple of injuries, yes, they're a little bit old. Certainly they're very expensive, but there's a reason for that. These are well-established players that are supposed to be, some of them at least, in the prime of their career or maybe the tail end of the prime of their career, and they're supposed to be coached by one of the best guys in the business, and yet somehow not able to put it together. And guys like Nick Bosa just never really got going this year. It's so frustrating to watch because – a team mortgages so much of its flexibility and what it can do with the rest of a roster, banking on each of these individual big-time stars to pull their weight, and to have like 2 of the 7 pull their weight is hard to watch.
I understand it. I feel for you. Back to your thing on the Chiefs. It's pretty remarkable to be 15-1. I know the style points weren't there this year, but thankfully there's no style points in the NFL. Mahomes is a winner. They've got a franchise defensive player in Jones. But to me, Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, outside of Chris Jones, they don't have any stars. Well, I should say Trent McDuffie's a star, but they're not loaded with a lot of superstars on that team. Kelsey's beyond his prime. He's still very good, but beyond his prime. You basically have Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and maybe Trent McDuffie, who are stars. Now maybe they've got some emerging stars, but it just goes to show when you create a culture and a champion and an expectation to win, and you've got the right coaches and the right players. I hate comparisons sometimes in sports, but I do think that there's a comparison to what the Patriots did for the better part of 15 years, because they weren't littered with a bunch of stars either, but they had great coaching, they had stars in the right places, and they just created a culture that they expected to win in.
And Andy Reid's the oldest coach in the league, if that matters, which, a lot of people are going a lot younger right now with their head coaching hires. and the guy who's been around and is dressed as Santa Claus after a big win on Christmas Day is the one that looks like he's on his way to back-to-back-to-back Super Bowls.
He is the oldest coach, but he doesn't necessarily act that way. And and when you have, it's kind of like Belichick was the oldest coach or close to it for a long time. But when you've got great players and a great culture around you, it makes you want to continue to go. And I guarantee Andy Reid doesn't feel his age because he gets to go to work with Patrick Mahomes every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'll help you. Bill Riley, my guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. I didn't bring him on to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. That's just a little Christmas present to my guy because he's been a lifelong fan. I do want to talk about this Utah basketball squad, but first a couple of questions on Utah football as they settle into a new era offensively. You bring in a coordinator from New Mexico who's got BYU ties, who's got in-state ties, obviously, in Jason Beck. And as is often the case in this era of college football, when you make a hire like that one, offensive coordinator, I think we could say, is the second most significant coaching position on any college football campus. He brought some players with him, some guys that have had success under him. Devin Dampier, the most important of those. We have not talked about this yet, even though it's relatively old news. That's now, 10 days into the process, 14 days into the process. And what have you heard about that marriage and what it's going to be like with Beck on this staff? And, of course, a quarterback who's a dual threat guy with a ton of talent now being an option for Utah's offense.
Well, I'm old enough, and again, this does make me feel old, that I covered and interviewed Jason Beck when he was a backup quarterback at BYU back in another lifetime so long ago. And I was up at the facility last week and ran into him and said hi, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I remember you, and I certainly remember your voice." So we chatted for about 15 minutes. He's really excited. And to your point, you say BYU ties. I know we always bring that up here in the States. To me, this has nothing to do with him being a former BYU guy. It has to do with him being a good, young offensive mind that's going to bring change to an offense that clearly needs to be brought up to date. Andy Ludwig, as you and I both know, we've discussed, I think, on your show, Sean, Andy was not the problem this year. However, Andy's offense might have been a little bit of the problem, not if you had a healthy Cam Rising, but it was so detailed. It was so complicated. It was so complex that unless you were Cam Rising and or Luke the Ferrari Batari, who had been in the offense for years, it took you that long to get a grasp on it and get a grip on it. And a guy like Isaac Wilson, who might have struggled in a lot of places just because he was a true freshman, but even a kid like Sam Heward, who had played a couple of years of college football, these guys, they're good football players. And I'm glad Isaac Wilson's sticking around and maybe learn for a couple of years and then have a good career. But the problem wasn't Andy's offense in as much, or Andy, but the complications of not being able to absorb it quickly. So I think what Kyle Whittingham said at the end of the year and then what he did when he hired Jason Beck, and I'm not saying Jason Beck's offense is easy per se, but I think it's probably less complicated, a little bit more plug and play. And to be fair, in this day and age, it might even be a little bit more player-friendly. And I think what you're going to see with that and with some of the kids they've decided to bring in is maybe a little bit more dynamicism with this offense this year, a little bit more modern. Hey, the funny thing is they still run the football a lot. I know people think spread offense, but if you looked at it this year, New Mexico ran for more yards than they passed for. They ran for 3,000 yards, like 3,300, and passed for just under 3,000 yards. So I think what you're going to see is a more modern, maybe an easier offense to grasp earlier and sooner, and maybe a little bit more dynamic with some of the kids they bring in.
I'm glad you brought up that yardage disparity. I mean, your running quarterback can do that, can make that offensive balance flip a little bit. And we've seen quote-unquote dual-threat guys quarterbacking a Utah offense, even if it was not necessarily the first option or the favorite option because you always want to protect the quarterback. This is a guy who you have to allow him in my opinion. You have to allow Devin Dampier the ability to pull the ball down and run when he needs to. You do have to, I think, keep him in the run game with some designed plays that are supposed to keep the ball in his hands. And certainly he wants to improve himself as a passer. He wants to improve his touchdown and interception ratio and all those things. But how smooth do you think that transition is going to be for a coaching staff who has tried in its most recent history to get away from being a run-first type team, or to balance it out a little bit more and say, hey, we want to throw the ball. We know that the way to score points and to keep pace and to put up that kind of magic number of 34, 35 points a game, you do have to air it out. Now you've got a quarterback who is going to run. Is it going to be a smooth transition, you think? Not for Beck, because he's used to it, but for Kyle Whittingham and company.
Well, I think so, because I think Kyle has realized over the last couple of years that you've got to evolve and change your offense just a little bit. And not to say that he didn't evolve and change bringing Andy back, but maybe with the simplicity of it. And I'm not sure that Devin Dampier or whoever's playing quarterback this year is going to be running the ball for 12 or 1,300 yards, if that makes sense. But what I think you're going to see is a balanced offense with some explosion and with some ability to throw the ball when you really want to be able to throw the ball as well. Remember, you're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, a new running backs coach, a new wide receivers coach. So there's going to be a lot more newness and thought. Freddie Whittingham stays around on the staff because he's done a good job coaching tight ends. And of course, Jim Harding's done a good job with that offensive line. But there'll be some changes in that offense. You're going to the guys that are there, the guys that are returning are going to have to adapt to what that new offense is. But I would be very surprised if we didn't come out of spring football with everybody on the same page feeling pretty good about where that offense is.
Bill Riley for a few more minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking about the state of the program up there at the University of Utah, and we'll get to some basketball, little hoops, because that's the duties the voice of the Utes are on right now. Last thing on football, I put a poll question out about, what is the biggest threat to Utah's football consistency? I know these last couple of years with piled up injuries and bad luck and all that stuff have not been what Utah's fan base has come to expect. And look, it's been hard for a lot of people to digest. Probably a little bit less fun for you to call the games this year than when you were winning Pac-12 championships. But in your mind, what is the biggest threat to that consistency for Utah, to a team that expects to be and honestly should be at the top of whatever conference they're in?
I don't think it's anything outside that building, Sean, to be very fair. I think the Big 12 is a really good and balanced conference, but I don't see anybody that's going to become a juggernaut from last year to this year. There's change everywhere. You're going to see change at Arizona State. You're going to see change at Colorado, guys leaving in the spring, things like that. I think this league is very good and very balanced. Utah just needs to be better internally. They need to figure out, who they are within that building and also stay healthy. That would help quite a bit too. I think the biggest threat to anybody and everybody, really not just at Utah, but in college athletics, is the inability to stabilize your roster. I think the biggest challenge in college football today isn't winning and losing, but maintaining your roster. I really do believe that, because there are no guardrails in college athletics, especially college football. So you can have – we saw it in this last cycle. Utah had commitments from players, and those players 2 days later left because somebody came in with a bigger checkbook and they went elsewhere. And I'm not saying the kids shouldn't get what they can get, but what I'm saying is we need to have – it's got to come to a contract situation soon. Because you have to know what your roster looks like, and you have to get these kids. You just can't have kids leaving free agency year by year. It's chaos for everybody, not just Utah, but for everybody. We've got to get to a point where you have a good gauge on who's returning and who's not returning on your roster, whether those are year-to-year deals, whether those are 1 year, 2 year, 3 year deals. I think it was Mike Gundy who discussed this maybe a year ago. You have to negotiate what the scholarship and or contract is going to be And there's no getting out of that. Once that is commit. It's like being a pro athlete, because in some way these kids are partial pros now because they're being compensated for their time more than just a scholarship. So to me, to boil back down to what your question is, to me, Utah, it's about figuring out who they are in this new world and staying healthy. Because I don't think we know this. Utah football was not very far off from being competitive this year with subpar quarterback play. Average quarterback play would have made them about 9-3 this year, above average quarterback play, and they might have been in Dallas playing for a Big 12 championship. So if they can stabilize the quarterback position and stay relatively healthy, I think they'll be in the mix with a bunch of other teams. I think the league's going to be good. I think BYU's in a good place. I think ASU's in a good place. I think Colorado, with Prime staying, assuming he does, and bringing in a transfer quarterback, I think they're probably in a good place. I think Utah's not far off from being in a good place. So to me, it's just staying healthy and stabilizing and figuring out who you are with this new offense.
Speaking of being in a good place, or maybe not, conference play going to begin for the Runnin' Utes, for Utah basketball. It'll be Baylor, which is a top 25 team right now. Shortly after that, you got one of the best teams in the country on the road, early January against Iowa State after a trip against Texas Tech. So as you see this team that you've already been calling games for, rounding into conference play, your expectations, are they about the same as they were before you'd seen them hoop?
I would say they're similar. And the only thing I would say is they're very close, Sean. They're very close. But they haven't won a meaningful game yet this year. They've beaten all the teams they should have beaten, and the three teams, Mississippi State, St. Mary's, and then Iowa, they lost close games that they could have won, but they lost. So to me, they're about where I thought they would be, but now it doesn't become any easier. They're going to have to figure out a way to win a close game. They can. They've got the talent to do it, but now the Big 12 begins, and the Big 12 is a wagon. There is not an easy out anywhere. This is not the Mountain West or even the Pac-12 where there was an easy win in a couple of places on the schedule. So they've got good talent. In fact, I think the talent is probably better than what I thought it would be before the season. But now they've got to put that thing all together, and they're going to open at Baylor in 4 days. That is not easy. Baylor's very good. Then they come home to play Texas Tech, who's good. Then they've got to go on the road to play at Ames, Iowa. That's three really good teams to open up the season. So to me, the talent is there, but they've got to find a way to get over the hump in those close games, if that makes sense.
Our conversation with Bill Riley is always brought to you by Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. Call them right now. Take advantage of the year-end pricing. $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Great deals on window coverings. If you got a puppy for Christmas, you can get the pet door put in. Tell them OC sent you. They'll give you a little hookup on that as well. And Bill, you've worked with these guys for a long time. I mean, they take care of everybody. Lifetime warranties.
Nate, Jake, Janitha, the big boss himself, Dave Orchard. They are all fantastic people. What I love is their customer service, their updates, their follow-throughs. That's tough these days, Sean. Customer service, anywhere you go these days, is not necessarily great. That is not the case in Advanced Window Products. When I got my shutters and blinds a year ago, they came out, they measured the house, they measured the windows, and then they gave me updates all the way along the way where, they're being made, they're being finished, they're being processed. We're going to come out next week. It was about 7 weeks from measuring to when they installed them. I love them. They make my windows in my house look absolutely spectacular from the inside and the out. But they were just so good with their customer service and keeping me in the loop. And they've done that for 36 years. That's the other thing, too. When you've been in business like the window business, the person-to-person business like they are, if you don't do good customer service, you're not going to stay in business. So I can't recommend them enough. Tell Nate and Jake and Janitha and Dave and the whole crew over there that I sent you in, that OC sent you in. They're awesome at Advanced Window Products.
801-850-9100. Call them, get on the schedule today. Take advantage of the 2024 prices before 2025 hits. Thanks as always, Bill. Appreciate you.
Sean, I've saved you a seat on the Chiefs bandwagon for the postseason.
I will not be there. I'm sorry. It's Niners till I die. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Well, Jeff Schwartz will not be happy with you. He and I will miss you on the bandwagon.
That's fine. Well, that's Bill Riley, the voice of the Utes. Big 12 basketball play starting soon. We'll take a quick one here from Toyota Orem and come back, talk about some of the deals going on here, and then Jerem Jordan in about 10 minutes on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
Pac-12 just had horrible leadership, and people lost their minds, and they said, look, for an extra $10 million, I'm willing to forego our unbelievable history as a conference, and I'm going to join a conference that means nothing to us, and then we have to travel all across the country for a few extra dollars. So why not find a way to make the pie bigger? And that's what the NFL has done. Everyone gets their slice, and they're unified. They want to put the best product forward, and our product is college football, and people love it. And let's not kill it, and we're freaking killing it because we don't have someone driving the bus, and it just bums me out.
That was sound from The Drive with Spence Checketts yesterday. You can hear the entire interview with former NFL coach, BYU great Jim Herman, on some of the big issues in college football right now. That's available at ESPN700sports.com. Just search The Drive and download that wherever you get your podcasts. If you're not listening live, you can always download our podcast. All the shows are available, which Logan, who's the internet sales manager down here at Orem Toyota, you are that's how you usually consume the ESPN 700 content. Is that correct?
Yeah. 9 to 5 schedule most of the time, if not later when we're doing some later deals, stuff like that. I really don't have a chance to hop on and listen to sports radio. I have to go to the podcasts. I notice you guys are on YouTube now. I appreciate that, and it's always a great listen.
Okay, let's talk about what's going on down here at Orem Toyota. You guys have rebranded from Brent Brown Toyota, but it's a customer service-oriented business. You are the internet sales manager. What does that mean in the car sales world, Logan?
It means you, the consumer, lead the way. A lot of times you go to a car dealership and, I hate to say, especially with the terms, they try to put you in a box and make you, do things a certain way. We're a little bit different here. We truly live by the phrase, you lead the way, in the sense of you buy a car the way that you want to buy a car. If you want to take 3 hours looking for a car on the lot, we're happy to assist you with that. If you know exactly what you want and you're, tech savvy, you want to do the whole deal on our website, but by the time you get here, we can, have you in and out in a short amount of time. We're just very customer centric that way, and not only with the sales side, but also the service side. Showed me the inspection, showed me what needed to be done, and it was, a different, unique experience. And, the whole top to bottom, like I said, very, very involved with the customer and, how the customer wants it.
1400 Sand Hill Road, just off that University Parkway exit, east side of the freeway. Come see us while we're here today. If you want to get the deal done quickly, great. If you want to hang out for 3 hours and look at all the cars, great. I will say this. It's a great time to get into a Tundra or a Tacoma right now. You guys have screaming deals on the trucks.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned earlier on the broadcast, $289 a month for a 2024 Tacoma. That is an amazing lease. I did the math on that, and not very often that you can drive something for 3 years and pay a little over $11,000 for it. And so, that's a great deal. As far as Tundras go, I've got some 2024 still remaining, just about $10,000 off on a few of them. The lease on those are really strong too. I think it's $409 a month for a new Tundra. End of the year's coming up. If you need to, save some money with taxes and your CPA is telling you to, go buy a truck, this is the place to come.
Again, easy to find, just east of the freeway, off University Parkway exit. You get off, you go east, you turn right, you're on Sand Hill. You come find Orem Toyota, and you come find us. The ESPN 700 van is out front. A little bird just told me that our sister station is going to be out here a little bit later today. Come on in, say hi to Logan, tell him OC sent you. Thanks for sitting down.
Thanks.
And more importantly, thanks for listening to the show, because, sometimes we don't know. Sometimes I'm just speaking out into a void. We're going to do a little red and blue next. Jerem Jordan talking about a huge game for BYU football, a bowl game against Coach Prime, and what we think is going to be a full-strength Colorado football team. That's news in 2024 by itself. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. back with this bowl game, with what's going on in the recruiting landscape, in-state and beyond. We'll get to all of it here, but let's talk about what Jake Retzlaff said, the People's Big 12 Championship game. I like that. We could brand it that way. This is a bowl game that I was very excited about the matchup. Not ideal because you wanted the ideal scenario for BYU would have been college football playoff, that kind of a thing. But if this is the consolation prize, you take on one of the most interesting teams in the country. You get to see, as a BYU fan, your squad up against two of the best individual players in the country. I mean, it's not a playoff game, but it's pretty dang good.
No, it's amazing. And, if you had said, okay, after BYU beat Utah, they're 9-0, are you happy with the Alamo Bowl? Absolutely not. You want the college football playoff at that point, like you said. So it's been disappointing, certainly, that BYU stumbled into this. But if you said at the beginning of the year, hey, Vegas is saying 4.5 wins for BYU, they win 10, and they're playing Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, I would say, why are they playing another Big 12 team? And then you'd look at it and go, oh, it's the Pac-12 contracts, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, yeah, it's great. I didn't think that Colorado would have Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter in the game. I'm still surprised they opted in. I'm not even sure exactly why they're playing, but I think it's great. And so that's going to be fun. Pop-Tarts would have been good, too. If BYU had been in that against Miami, I think that could have been a lot of fun, too. But since these guys opted in, and it's Deion and it's Colorado and it's Heisman and it's Shedeur, this is very intriguing. Many publications have said this is their top bowl game outside the playoff. So you'll take it, and it's a big challenge. It's another 9+ win team that BYU could take down. And there's not too many seasons historically where BYU's taken down a bunch of those teams. You're looking at this year SMU, Kansas State, Baylor could win a 9th game if BYU beats Colorado. That's pretty significant. This BYU team was very good this year. Obviously, they want a little more. But what Jake said, I think, one, he's saying it a little in jest. But two, I think it's just kind of fun because, let's be honest, with these Power 4 conferences now, the products are a little diluted in terms of we're not able to actually match up everybody. And so tiebreakers decide, ... Ultimately, BYU could have won two of its last 3 instead of 1. But it's kind of fun. It's the third-place game, if you will, or the People's Championship. That's fun.
What's really at stake here? Because, again, we do this thing where we say, meaningless bowl game because it's not a college football playoff and there's no bigger stakes. I don't like that term, meaningless bowl game, even though I perpetuate it on my own show, which is counterintuitive. This game means something to the players in the game, obviously. It means a lot to the coaching staffs in the game. Is there something like concrete at stake here in terms of momentum for next year, in terms of this is the thing that could swing some transfer portal recruit who's, teetering on the edge between BYU and somewhere else, or maybe even between BYU and Colorado? Is there like a real stake in this game besides you just want to go out, send your seniors out the right way, on a positive note, have a great experience, and of course, maybe silence some of the folks that said that when you were 9-0, that you were a paper tiger?
I think there's not a ton of stakes outside the college football playoff. There aren't. But I do think there's some really interesting things about whether if BYU loses the game and it's competitive, I don't think BYU loses a ton of juice. But if they win the game, I think it adds a little bit. I think BYU is going to start as a preseason top 25 team next year. I think if they win this game, they may be like 16-19. I think if they lose, they're in the 20s. I think that affects something. I do think, obviously, when you're around the building and you won and those January workouts prior to spring ball, you have a little more juice, all that. Transfer portal, I don't know. BYU's pulled in some significant guys that they liked already without the bowl game even being played. It's a good question. We discussed it, too, today on BYU Sports Nation of, what are the stakes for this? You want to beat the Heisman Trophy winner. You want to beat Shedeur and Prime. You play them next year in Boulder. So, stakes aren't, super high. But I do think there's a difference historically with BYU teams that have won 11 versus 10 as well. It kind of ups the ante, although I'm going to put this team in the top 10 greatest BYU football seasons ever because they were in a Power 4 league and they won 10-plus games. We hadn't seen BYU have this kind of challenge and meet it early in its history as a Power team, but it's been fun to watch BYU kind of answer the bell. What you don't want, though, is to lose 3 of 4 to end the season after being 9-0. That would stink. I think you're almost avoiding that. And the fact that you're playing Colorado and there's so much interest, the average TV viewership for this bowl game the last couple of years is 5.3 mil. Guaranteed 6+ million people watch this because Colorado. It might be 7. There's a lot of viewership. This might be the most viewed TV game of all time for BYU football.
That's better than the Christmas Day NBA games. We talked about that earlier on the show. That's a big
Tell
rating.
Tell me about it, LeBron.
You already alluded to this, and it's something that is really to the great chagrin of a lot of Utah fans right now, but BYU is killing it on the recruiting trail, especially with some of the transfer portal. They stole Hunter Clegg from Utah, who just got back from his mission last week, and immediately he flips and he goes to BYU. And I get it. It's part of the system now. Utah's taking guys from BYU. BYU's going to take guys from Utah, and it's not just taking guys from one another. They're all trying to win these battles against every school in the country. Do you have insight as to whether or not this is just because BYU's been very successful this year? They had a surprisingly fun and good season. Is some of that NIL trickle down from the basketball side of things helping BYU here? How are they winning some of these battles on the recruiting trail? Is it just winning?
Sean, don't give me another Utah and stolen thing fodder. Let's not go there, okay? Right? No, I think it is interesting to see why these guys are coming. Like Andrew Gentry from Michigan is a big-time get for BYU. He's coming off Liz Frank. His brother played at BYU, actually lives in my neighborhood, friends with him. Excited that Andrew's coming. Like Akana from Texas, didn't play a ton. Kid that played at Sky Ridge. That seems like it could be a fit. Hunter Clegg's a big flip. Like that kid's big time, as you mentioned. And then Purcell, the D lineman from Southern Utah. BYU trying to address the line specifically. They lose the whole D line, by the way. Like all 4 starters plus a backup. So I think it's a combination of what you mentioned. I think there's some real NIL positivity there from football. We had Hans Olsen on the program today, and he talked about, hey, BYU's in the money game. I think they are in football a little bit more as well. There's people feeling good about a 10-win season. The style of play, Jay Hill is an amazing recruiter. And so I think the fact that BYU's won, they're competitive at the highest level. They got some cash behind it. They play a good brand of defense. It helps to have the best linebacker in the NFL and one of the best receivers. There's a lot of good mojo there. It's a lot of positivity. And like the crossover, I think there will always be kind of crossover of this guy committed here but went there and so forth with BYU and Utah. And I think that's part of the rivalry. I think it's fun. And there are different motivations for these kids for how much do you care about money versus opportunity and playing time. And rosters are getting cut down, remember, from 120 to 105. And so certain guys are getting different opportunities year to year.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about that enough, like in general, but I certainly haven't enough on my show with the revenue sharing model coming into play pretty soon, and that's going to put the cap on roster sizes. And look, the bottom 15 dudes on any college football roster are not necessarily individuals whose names ever even get brought up, but the way that these coaches are going to have to do their calculus on who they need where and how you build depth and how can you maintain depth when nobody wants to be a backup anymore, that all plays into your numbers game, especially when that number gets reduced.
And how about the fact that the NCAA just days ago says, okay, if you were at a JUCO at one point in your career and you're about to run out of eligibility, you get another year. So all of a sudden these coaches, like you talk about BYU and Utah where they're like, okay, this guy's coming off a mission. Oh, wait, this guy has a JUCO year now? Wait, did he have a COVID year? Was he a medical? Like the general manager of each team, holy cow. They've got a lot of things to figure out now.
Yeah, it's a lot. Jerem Jordan, our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking a little BYU football. They're up against Colorado in the Alamo Bowl tomorrow on ABC, 5:30 kick Mountain Time. Going to be a lot of fun in that one. Kalani Sitake, look, everyone talks about Coach Prime, and I think justifiably so. He's a really excellent coach who does things a different way. Kalani's a lot more traditional. Is he being respected and talked about enough as one of the best coaches in college football, especially given what he was able to do this year relative to expectation?
Sure. Yeah, I think he was a semifinalist or finalist on many of the national coaching watch lists. If BYU had won one more game and got to the Big 12 title game, perhaps he's a finalist on all those lists. If he's in the playoffs, he's definitely a finalist for National Coach of the Year, given BYU went from 5-7 to what would have been, 10-2, 11-1 at that point, maybe 12 wins. Who knows? I think people respect him, and BYU extended his contract into the foreseeable future. I think people know and love Kalani for what he's done with BYU, and now he's put up 3 10-plus win seasons in the last 5 years in kind of 3 different situations, right? One was clear, normal, independent year. One was a COVID year, and now one in the Big 12, so he can adapt.
All right, I'm going to make some assumptions here in the way I phrase this question, but I'm going to assume that everyone in Provo is glad that Jay Hill is still around as a member of this staff. Are you surprised, even if you're glad, that he's still on staff because he's so dang good at the job? He has previous head coaching experience, and the coaching carousel turns every year.
Yeah, glad in 72 font and bold, I think, right? And then I'm not necessarily surprised, because I'm not sure the opportunities that presented themselves for him potentially were the ones that he wanted. Otherwise, he probably would have jumped. I think he's building something pretty good here. He's recruiting really well. He's gathering guys that can play his system. The talent level's gone up. The depth on this team has gone up. They were deeper this year than I've seen in a long time. That word is used so often, I almost hate it, especially in fall camp. It's like, don't even say the word. But BYU truly played their twos a lot this year. They went 4 deep at strong safety, 3 deep at free safety. They played like 4 or 5 freshmen, a lot of time on a 10-win team in a power league, which is impressive. So I'm excited about the future, and Jay Hill certainly, I think, changed the fortunes of this year. You need all sides of the ball to compete, but BYU's defense took a massive step forward in year 2.
So you already mentioned that they've got a lot of talent to replace along the defensive line, and they will continue to make those adjustments in this transfer cycle. And then, of course, you've got another window that opens up after spring ball and through the summer. So this roster is far from a finished product, not just at BYU but everywhere. What else? What else does BYU need? I'm with you. I think they're going to be a preseason top 25 team. What do they need to be in that conversation all of 2025?
Yeah, you need 2 corners. You're going to lose Jacob Robinson and Mark Collins, and those guys are outstanding this year. BYU's number 3 in the country in pass defensive efficiency. We'll see what happens with the linebackers. Does Jack Kelly stay, or does he think maybe he can sneak in as a day 3 guy, or does he transfer somewhere? I don't know. I'm not hearing anything. I'm just stating the facts that everything's year to year. Any kind of roster continuity can be tough because you don't know what the motivations of everybody is or what they're getting offered elsewhere. Do they level up? Do they level sideways? I don't know. But, yeah, definitely corners. You probably need another safety in there. Chase Roberts back at receiver is a big deal for BYU. In terms of tight ends, obviously getting Carson Ryan's nice, but BYU lost like 3 or 4, so do they need another one in there? They may need another running back to replace Hinckley Ropati unless he uses his JUCO extra year, and comes back. Quarterback, BYU liked who they had at 3rd and 4th string. They lose Gary Bohannon, so maybe you need another backup. I know there's some really good interest from some talented quarterbacks to want to come in and compete. Jay Kretzoff's certainly the guy moving forward. And does he get an extra year at some point? Does the NCAA say, hey, anybody that played JUCO, you get another year? I'd be surprised if they don't do that. But, and then O-line, you certainly need a few guys. Does Caleb Etienne come back with that extra JUCO year, or does he try and sneak into the 3rd day of the NFL draft? I'm not sure. But certainly right tackle is open, potentially left tackle. You got some O-line spots there. So you can always use the depth. The D-line, you probably need 5 or 6 guys, not just kind of 3 or 4. So there's certainly some spots to fill there. But BYU's excited about some of the young guys they have that got some playing time this year who will kind of level up. And then, of course, you can try and supplement that with the portal.
BYU insider Jerem Jordan, my guest here, talking a little red and blue on the Sean O'Connell Show. Switching things over to basketball, I mean, these are the salad days for BYU's basketball program. You're about to start Big 12 play with a really talented roster in a very, very good league. You've got a ton of support in that program. You've got the number 1 recruit in the country committed and planning on showing up in Provo. it's exciting, even as someone, on the outside looking in. Although, as we've talked about, I am technically a BYU alum now, at least from the master standpoint. This is a really, really fascinating time for BYU basketball for the 2024-2025 season. What do you think the ceiling is for this program? The future is so incredibly bright. Is this an Elite Eight team? Is this a Sweet 16? Can they make a Final Four run here?
All depends on matchups, right? Historically, BYU has required the National Player of the Year to get to that second weekend. You had to have Danny Ainge or Jim Fredette. Is Jaegor Demon that level of guy with this group around him to where they could level up? To me, it really depends on Cannon Catchings. You're a 6'9" freshman who is a top 35 guy who decommitted from Purdue. He played great against Florida A&M. I know it's Florida A&M, but 21 points, season high, 4 of 7 from 3. Took good shots. When he takes good shots, Sean, he is really good. Super long, NBA body, very athletic. Tamika Catchings is his aunt. His mom played in the WNBA. His grandpa played in the NBA. He's got great bloodline, right? Great genes. And this kid's talented. So he could take BYU to another level. They've been banged up, though. Demon's missed the last 3 games with a lower leg injury sustained against Providence. Hopefully he'll be back against Arizona State. Richie Saunders got a concussion against Wyoming. Hopefully he's back against Arizona State on Tuesday as well to open up Big 12 play with a healthy group intact, which they have not played all healthy together for very much. Dallin Hall, Trevin Nels shooting 60% from 3 the last couple of games. Good guys off the bench like Dawson Baker, who's averaging 13 a game in the last 4. They certainly could make a run in the NCAA tournament. What that looks like, I want to see how they're playing in March. I want to see the matchups. But they certainly need to get like a 6 seed for you to feel like they have a chance to do some damage. I just don't like a 7, 8, or 9 where you're playing, a 10 or an A9 and then you're playing a 2 or 3. Those can be a little challenging, but BYU certainly needs to win a game in the NCAA tournament at a minimum.
The Debonta commitment, how big of a moment is that for BYU basketball, certainly, but just BYU athletics? I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves. This is a wonderful state to live in. We are very rarely at the epicenter of the college sports world, and to have a number one guy or a number one girl, for that matter, in any sport, choosing BYU or choosing Utah or choosing, I guess it could happen for Utah State or whatever. It's a moment. It's a moment in sports. How big of a moment?
It was massive. It felt like BYU won an NCAA tournament game or something, right? The fact that he's on First Take and talking to Stephen A. Smith, like it was awesome. And he has BYU under there, and he's talking about the Cougars. It was a big time moment in this country. On Twitter, everyone going crazy like BYU, what? And the fact that he loved the development option, the Provo thing with what BYU's doing of trying to create kind of an NBA culture and NBA staff behind the scenes, on the court, everything. Big time. Huge, huge moment. Fun that he's signed, and we can kind of explore what he is and when he's going to be here. It's wild because he doesn't actually play games for like 10 months, almost 11 months, right? We have like a full year of lead up to this, which is exciting. But he's big time, and it's wild because he's not just the number one recruit. He's the number one guy in the country in this year's freshman class too. Like he would be the number one pick in the draft probably. So it's wild that one, he chose BYU, but two, like playing at Utah Tech and Hurricane, this new school, like that certainly influenced things. There are BYU people down in St. George that have been around, and Kevin Young and the timing. It all goes back to Jack Golke, Sean. If Jack Golke of Oakland doesn't make like 10 threes against Kentucky, none of this happens. So shout out to Jack Golke who got it done.
It's fun to see what the butterfly flapping its wings is that makes all these things happen. A wild time. So give me your prediction on the Alamo Bowl. Can BYU get this one done against Coach Prime and the Heisman Trophy winner and the projected number one overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft?
Speaking of number ones, right? Yeah. I think if BYU can turn Colorado over a little bit, they got a good chance in this. Colorado has 23 takeaways. They're pretty good at it, like BYU. 22 of those are in wins. They only produce one in the losses. They're 3 losses. So if BYU takes care of the football, I think they've got a good chance here. Colorado's not going to run it at all. They're just going to chuck it. Can the BYU defense rise up and show systematically and with its good personnel and talent how they've defended the pass well this year. They've only given up 11 touchdowns passing, 20 picks. That's the matchup, right? All these really good receivers, Hunter and Wester and Shepard and Orr Jr. and the Miller boys. Like, that's going to be the fun matchup. I think BYU wins. Give me something high scoring like 35-31.
Jerem, great to be back. Great to hear your voice. I always appreciate your contributions. Thank you, sir.
Sean, I appreciate it. Always great to talk to you, dude.
Jerem Jordan, insider, working really all things BYU, talking about that Alamo Bowl, and, of course, BYU basketball. He's a big part of BYU basketball coverage over there on BYU Sports Nation. Big thanks to Jerem Jordan for being a friend of the program. A little red and blue there for you. Reminder to all of you comedy fans, Sebastian Maniscalco bringing his It Ain't Right tour to the Maverick Center January 17th. Listen to The Drive with Spence Checketts for your chance to win a pair of tickets. Details are on ESPN700sports.com. Sean O'Connell Show coming at you live from Toyota Orem. It used to be Brent Brown. Now we're the Orem Toyota store. Unbelievable deals right now on cars, trucks, and SUVs. If you're looking for a lease, especially Toyota Tacoma lease, $289 a month. That is a screaming deal. And it is bumping down here in the dealership. I thought, you know what? Everyone does that thing where they buy the car and they put the big bow on it and they put it in the driveway for Christmas. This is actually a better time of year to buy a car than any other time of year. So come down, tell them OC sent you, say hello. All right, lots to discuss still on the Sean O'Connell Show. Look, we just touched on it with Jerem Jordan. Colorado is playing in this bowl game against BYU and bucking a trend that has been growing for, I don't know, a decade now in college football. Two of the very best players, individual players in all of college football, are going to be actually suiting up and playing for the Buffaloes. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Why are they playing in this game? We'll discuss that next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. We're coming at you live from the new Toyota dealership in Orem. It's actually rebranded, all right? Toyota Orem instead of Brent Brown Toyota. Brand new deals, brand new trucks, brand new cars, trucks, and SUVs. Logan is the internet sales manager down here, kind enough to sit down with us and tell us a little bit about what's going on. Look, the marketing in the automotive industry is often like you buy the car, you put the big bow on it, and then your significant other runs out into the driveway on Christmas morning, and that's when you get the car. This is actually an excellent time of year to get into a new vehicle, though, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in our industry, the last week of the year is typically the busiest week of the year.
Why is that? Because the deals are so good? Because you're trying to get move the inventory before 2025 hits? What's the deal?
Yeah, so it's kind of a perfect storm. You've got kind of a few of the things that you mentioned, like we're trying to move out our 24s so that we have room for our 25s, right? As I mentioned in the break that we had earlier, business owners are looking for tax breaks, right? Their CPA may say, hey, you can save money if you go buy a new truck or something over 6,000 pounds, something like that. It's also towards the end of the month. We tend to do some aggressive deals towards the end of the month as we have goals to hit with our manufacturer, those sort of things, and then fiscal year, right? So if you're got any inkling to buy a car or buy a truck, anything like that, it would be very advantageous to you to do it this week.
And look, Toyotas are, they're really top of the industry in terms of things like resale value, reliability. I don't even have to tell folks that anymore because everyone who's ever bought a car knows that this is one of those brands that just has staying power. And you guys have a great selection and are always getting the new stuff as well. What's the hottest item? What's the hottest model? What's the hottest vehicle in the Toyota lineup right now?
Right now, the hottest model, obviously your Toyota Tacomas, right? You mentioned that earlier. You had those in high school that they've stayed really popular. And we mentioned the $299 lease that we have $289.
$289, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was a little off. And the Tundras, those. We actually have a really aggressive lease on Corollas right now as well. So if you're looking for a nice little commuter car, maybe something for a son or daughter that's going to be going to school, $239 a month. That's super aggressive as well. And then even the vehicles that aren't quite here yet. We mentioned in the break Grand Highlander. Good luck finding one right now, but we'd love to talk to you about getting on the list for one. And then probably the most anticipated vehicle that's on its way is the newly redesigned 2025 Toyota 4Runner. And we should start to see those in February, March. However, if you're not on the list now, you probably won't get them then at that point. So we'd love to chat with anybody, give you a great deal, and help you out. The car business has changed a little bit. It used to be you could walk onto a lot and find a vehicle and drive away today. However, with COVID and everything, some of the supplies still hasn't quite caught up, especially with Toyota. Not just because of that, but they're a very popular brand. And hey, come talk to us. We'll give you a great deal.
I had not seen the 2025 4Runners. Looking at these pictures is obvious reason why these things are in high demand right now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting one. We actually just picked a 24 up for my wife back in May, and hopefully we can swap that sucker out pretty soon. Not nothing against the 24, but the 25 looks amazing.
They look awesome. Come down here to Orem Toyota. We're at 1400 Sand Hill, east side of the freeway, right off the University Parkway exit. Used to be Brent Brown Toyota. Come say hi. We got some giveaways. We just got 10 pizzas sitting here. Not enough people to eat them. Don't do me dirty. Don't make me eat a whole pizza by myself. Come down, help me out. Say hi to Logan while you're down here. Tell him that OC sent you. Thanks for sitting down with us. All right, I want to talk about BYU's opponent in this bowl game. The University of Colorado taking on BYU. And look, if you just brush past the matchup, you're going to say, oh, yeah, it's a bowl game. It's not a college football playoff game. The Heisman Trophy winner, no way he's going to play. The projected number one overall pick, or maybe number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. No way that he's going to play. Coach Prime told us weeks and weeks ago, we're going to play in this bowl game. Everyone's going to play. Deion Sanders, if you don't like him, fine. He might make playing in bowl games cool again, even for NFL prospects. It makes absolutely no risk assessment financial sense for either Shedeur Sanders or for Travis Hunter to be playing in this game. And as far as we know, both of these guys will be suited up and playing against BYU tomorrow. Now, I don't know if they're going to be on a limited snap count. We know that's not typically the case with the Heisman Trophy winner. Certainly hasn't been the case with Shedeur Sanders, who has had to peel himself up off the turf so many times this year. I don't know if there's a plan to, like, hey, be the guys who set the example, go out there, say you're playing in a bowl game, even though your future is so incredibly bright. Prove to people that these bowl games still matter. Prove to people that you are the type of individuals that want to finish what you start, whatever the reasoning is. However Deion Sanders convinced these two guys that playing in this game was the right thing, he is the only guy who could have convinced them to do it. And you're not going to tell me otherwise. Because right now, the priorities for college football athletes who have any hope of being in the NFL, as soon as their season escapes them with no championship, no college football playoff appearance, the shift of attention goes immediately to the NFL and to their prospects in the NFL draft. And there's no way I'm going to begrudge anybody that, right? Especially when you're talking about a first-round draft pick. You're talking about immediately signing bonus that changes the course of your family's financial life for at least a generation. And if you're smart with it, for much longer than that. Most of us think that Shedeur Sanders is probably going to be in the league for at least 10 years. Most of us think that Travis Hunter is probably going to be in the league for at least 10 years. These guys are looking at 3 contracts in the NFL at least, right? These guys are looking at probably between them up to, I don't know, on the top end, $500 million in contract. On the bottom end, you're talking about $100 million over the course of their NFL futures, and that's a crazy low estimate. So what you're looking at is 2 individuals who, against all reason, are finishing something they started with their team. At least that's what we expect. How does Coach Prime convince these guys that playing in this game is the right thing? Well, he's the only one who can do it because he's the guy who said, stop. I played 2 sports. I was a pro in baseball. I was a pro in football. I wasn't constantly worried about injuring myself and how my other future was going to be affected by the moments I have right now. Now, Travis Hunter does not play a position that typically results in catastrophic injury on the field. Shedeur Sanders plays a far riskier position, especially behind an offensive line that has been suspect at times. So, again, the wisdom of this is to just not play. No one would begrudge you for not playing. There's not a single human being observing this Alamo Bowl that is like, oh, yeah, he should be playing in this. His team needs him. It's the Alamo Bowl. It's a fun game. It's a cool matchup. But this is an absolute treat for those of us with any kind of interest in the conference, any kind of interest in BYU and its in-state connection, obviously. Any kind of interest in college football. This is going to be, like Jerem Jordan said, this is going to be a highly rated college football game because these guys are playing in it. And they took out insurance policies. Record-setting insurance policies is what the headline said. Never before has a player been insured for as much as Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders against injury. But the fine print on those insurance policies, by the way, in most cases, and of course I haven't seen their individual insurance policies that Colorado helped take out for them, most of the time, the only way you cash on that insurance policy is if you don't play in the NFL, as if whatever injury happens prohibits you from earning money as a professional football player. James, who was it years back that was I always mix them up. Was it Willis McGahee or Clinton Portis whose knee bent backwards in a bowl game?
It was McGahee.
Okay, so Willis McGahee had like $1 million insurance policy on his body, right? And he had to make a decision, and it was an incredibly risky decision that he ultimately said, I'm not going to cash the insurance policy. I'm going to pursue the NFL dream. And he did, and thankfully for him, it worked out, and he made more than $1 million, and he had some success at the next level. But I remember being, this was when we were all a lot younger. I remember reading that and be like, oh, well, that's cool that, he's insured because, gosh, that injury was really nasty. No, you're only insured if you decide that you're taking the guarantee. You're taking the guaranteed money. And I don't know what that money has to look like for Shedeur Sanders and for Travis Hunter to say, yeah, this is worth the risk.
Yeah, that's tough. I actually did not know that part of it. I was with other people that were mistaken that, okay, well, either way, they either going to have good NFL careers, be millionaires that way, or they can cash out on this and still have both. Like that's the tough decision that, as you mentioned, Willis McGahee ended up going with, and a big risk to try to pursue an NFL career, which worked out for him. But yeah, I didn't know that it was an either or thing, and so there is still some risk to them playing in this game for sure.
And look, I don't know the details of the insurance policy, but that is typically how it does, because an insurance company is saying we will assume that risk. We will assume the risk injury for you, and we will pay this out for you. Insurance companies are notoriously miserly with their payouts. They're not going to be like, yes, you got injured in this game, so here's $10 million and also have fun playing in the NFL and taking all that money too. Like, they're not going to – you're going to have to forfeit that money. You're going to have to give it back if you end up playing in the NFL. That's how it was, at least. I don't know the details on the policy, but I would be shocked and amazed if there's not some language to that effect in these policies. Or you're paying like an insanely high premium, which of course Colorado probably. I mean, I'm sure Deion Sanders can convince Colorado to do whatever he wants them to do. So maybe they're paying a crazy premium on whatever that policy is. But I don't know. That's too much time on insurance policies, honestly, on Sports Talk Radio. What really matters here?
Come on back, audience. We got you.
What really matters here, James, is that two of the best players in college football are deciding to play in a quote-unquote meaningless bowl game. They're deciding to. Whether it's because of the insurance policy or not, they're deciding to assume the risk and to play. With Travis Hunter and with Shedeur Sanders and with Coach Prime, they are bucking the trend. They are setting an example of something that people have been going against now for years and years and years. These are two first-round draft picks who are saying, yeah, we're going to play.
Probably both top 10 draft picks, really.
Yeah, I mean, they could go 1-2.
They could go 1-2. Yeah, like this is really cool for college football, is what it is, and really cool for football fans. Obviously, you hope and you pray that this will be a great game. They'll put together one last great college performance and not get injured and not have to jeopardize draft stock and things like that in an NFL career. But either way, like, this is a good thing. We should be celebrating this. Those that maybe err on the side of, what are they doing? This is ridiculous. Why would you risk this? Like, maybe think about how more entertaining this game's going to be. And let's not forget, it is the People's Big 12 Championship game, OC.
Look,
let's go. Like, this makes it even better.
It's a phenomenal treat for BYU fans, right? You're playing against a full-strength Colorado team. If you beat this team, it means a heck of a lot more than if you beat them without Travis Hunter, without Shedeur Sanders. I promise you that if BYU wins this game, they have a lot more bragging right. They have a lot more momentum. They have a lot more positivity heading into an offseason where there's already reason for plenty of positivity. But I mean, you think Jay Hill and Kalani Sitake and company can't use that on the recruiting trail? We just beat the number 1 overall draft pick and the Heisman Trophy winner in a bowl game. That's what you're going to get if you come play here. I mean, that's what this whole thing is about. So I'm unbelievably impressed with the decision being made right now by Coach Prime, by Shedeur Sanders, by Travis Hunter. No coach in college football knows better, some probably on an equal level, but very few people that are in his position understand the ins and outs of the NFL life and NFL contracts and what being in the NFL and being a star in the NFL really means. Very few people understand that, like Deion Sanders understands it. And yet he is willing to say, you know what, take this risk. It's worth it. That is phenomenal for college football in general. Love it. Love to see it. Deion Sanders making bowl games great again.
Make bowl games great again.
What would that be?
That'd be a even.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. But it's awesome. I'm so excited. I'm much more excited for this game and for any other, more excited for this Alamo Bowl game than maybe any other one. I can't think of one in recent years anyway that I've been this excited for, and it should be a lot of fun. In hindsight, I kind of would have hoped that Miami might have been the other matchup here, so it's not two conference foes. But you know what? It's still awesome. It's still the third place game in the Big 12 unofficially here, and two teams tied in a four-way tie for the top of the Big 12 pre-Big 12 championship game. So, yeah, these are playoff caliber teams in a non-playoff bowl game, and nobody's resting. Let's go.
Giving you a chance to see Running Utes home game. Text Utes to 33986 and win a pair of tickets to Utah basketball. Time to take a break here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Can Georgia win without their starting quarterback? We're talking playoff football here, people. Other teams would have been booted out. We saw other teams booted out because the starting quarterback goes down. Can Georgia win without Carson Beck? Let's get into that on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700. Josh Newman going to join us here in about 5 minutes on the Sean O'Connell Show, talk a little college football playoff action. He's on the Texas beat now. We'll talk about Texas. We'll talk about Georgia. We'll talk about Boise State's chances, all of it. We're down here at the Toyota Orem dealership. Used to be Brent Brown Toyota, just east of the freeway. Sand Hill, 1400 Sand Hill Road. Come say hi. Check out the showroom. It's busy in here. Logan, the internet sales manager, sitting down with us again. Always this busy a couple days after Christmas?
You got me? There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, always this busy after Christmas. As I mentioned, it's the busiest week of the year for us. We've got some great deals going on. I mentioned the $289 a month Tacoma lease, $409 on the Tundra. How about 2.99% financing on a Toyota Tundra right now? Which hey, I think best you can get through a credit union right now is in the 6s, so that's going to definitely save you some money. And then the other thing that we haven't talked about is our certified pre-owns with Toyota. One of the advantages to a certified pre-owned with Toyota, you finance that through Toyota, you can get a 4.99% rate up to 60 months on that.
Wow.
So we've talked about discounts, we've talked about lease returns. Now we're talking about APR. It's a great time to buy.
Look, I know people who just will not purchase a new car. They just will not buy a brand new car. The certified pre-owned process, you guys take in these cars. They're effectively like new when you drive them off the lot because you go through a very significant inspection process before you turn that out to a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I believe it's like 150-something point process that every one of these vehicles goes through. And to get that certified stamp, they always come with 2 sets of keys, right? I know that can be annoying sometimes. You go buy a used car and they only have one key because, hey, that's what the last person left them, right? That's a requirement with the certified pre-owns. And like I said, you get the advantage of Toyota Financial backing that up. You get a great interest rate with that.
The beauty of it down here at Orem Toyota, if you're looking for that starter car, we talked about the Corollas. If you're looking for the pickup trucks, we talked about the Tacomas and the Tundras. If you're looking for the big family car, you've got that Grand Highlander. You're going to have to wait a little bit on that, but that option is there for you. What about the Sequoias? Do you have any of those right now?
Sequoias, I believe we have one available that's supposed to be here soon. I'd have to double check. I'll check on our next break to see exactly what that is. That's there, but not a ton of those out there. But we can get them. The other one that we do see a lot of are the Toyota Sienna vans.
Yeah,
those are actually really cool.
Those are awesome.
I had a friend of mine that she has a son that's a senior in high school, and her and her significant other have 2 pugs, and they were stoked about getting a Sienna van because of how cool they are. I think you can get a refrigerator in them now and a vacuum, and that second row. The legs come out, you can fully recline it. They're pretty sweet.
I drove a minivan in high school, so if you're out there and you're thinking like, hey, what kind of vehicle can I get for my teenage driver? Minivan's a great option, all right? I drove one.
No door dings.
And if I drove one, you know it's cool. Come down here to Toyota Orem Toyota, Sand Hill Road, just east of the freeway. Get off on that University Parkway exit. Come in, tell them OC sent you. Ben Criddle and that crew are setting up. They're going to be here after we are finishing out the day. So come down, tell Logan that we told you to come in. They'll hook you up with the great deals available. Again, Tacomas, Tundras, Corollas, great options going on right now. And check out a minivan. Just don't turn it away just because of the stigma attached to the minivan. Those vehicles are actually really great right now. Quick break. Josh Newman on the other side. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. now on the Texas beat, really just a guy who's got some opinions and some thoughts about college football. Right person to talk to this time of year. Josh, welcome to the show. Happy Hanukkah. How are you?
OC, I'm doing well, and happiest of holidays to you and yours.
We appreciate you jumping on with us in this holiday season. I know that it's not the easiest time for James to be booking guests, so very nice of you to give us some time. We're looking at all things in college football through this college football playoff now. Every team is trying to make the right decisions, the right coaching hires, the right recruiting picks in order to get to a place where Texas finds themselves now in the second round of a college football playoff game. And as you've kind of taken a look at how Texas got here, in years not so distant past, Texas was nowhere near this position. Is it money that got Texas here? Is it the right kind of decisions by the leadership? Is it tapping back into that fertile recruiting ground in their home state? What ultimately allowed Texas to get back to this spot?
Yeah, I mean, not to be cliche, I mean, it's probably a combination of all of those things. Okay, the NIL machine here at Texas it's stout, right? They're not losing out on many guys that they want, especially out of the portal. If they're going to lose out on a guy, it's not going to be because of NIL, right? A lot of the key pieces on this team, Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver, Matthew Golden, another wide receiver, even Quinn Ewers, 2-3 years ago, these were all guys who came out of the portal, and it was fueled at least partially by the NIL situation here, which is big. And then Steve Sarkisian, his personal issues, a decade ago are well documented. He has moved past those. He got a second chance here, right? He was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons for a couple of years. He was the OC for Alabama under Nick Saban. They won the national championship in 2020 with Sarkisian running the offense, and Texas comes along and they hire him. Obviously you need to get the right pieces around guys like Quinn Ewers, and you need to be, retaining what you need to retain, not just every 4 years, on an annual basis. You need to be retaining what you need to retain on your current roster to continue to be competitive. So I think if you take all of those things into account, I think a lot of people in the building thought that they had enough to get to the college football playoff, and here we are. They went 10-2 in the regular season. They went 11-1 in the regular season, lost in the SEC championship game, but they had done enough to make the 12-team field, and here we are. They're in the quarterfinals.
There was a lot of gnashing of teeth and complaining, mostly by the SEC, but by a lot of people about, these first-round matchups, look at these games. These haven't been classic, incredible games for the most part. We must have selected wrong. Where did you stand on how the first round of playoff games played out and what it meant about the process of getting to those 12 teams?
Yeah, my opinion on this has altered and been tweaked and changed. I like the 12-team college football playoff. It gives more access to more teams to vie for the national championship. Obviously, the CFP format once upon a time was 4 teams. It's now 12. There's more teams involved. I think the regular season was made much more exciting by having 12 teams. Look, in what other scenario would you have Ohio State, Indiana as a massive regular season game if it wasn't for this 12-team playoff? So the regular season mattered more. But now, as we've sort of gotten through the first round, and as you said, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth, no doubt. I think one point is crystal clear now. It might be 12 teams, but I really think that there's only 4 or 6 teams, not just this year, but every year. There's only 4, 5, 6 teams that can really win the national championship. And no offense to Boise State, no offense to Arizona State, I don't think those teams on an annual basis, teams like that, the way they're constructed, they can't win a national championship. You're down to, Texas, Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, the other 6 teams that are involved. Those teams can win the national championship every year. So I'll be curious to see, how the format changes. If the format changes, I'm sure there's going to be tweaks, right? I don't think that anybody really thinks that this current 12-team format is the end game. This always felt like a bridge to something else. So I'll be curious to see what they come up with. Not next year, not even 2 years, but 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road.
Texas might be one of the few teams, because you talked about that stout NIL support system and whatnot, might be one of the few programs, and a strong maybe for me on this, that is like, yeah, this system actually kind of works. This wide open Wild West transfer portal situation, it's okay because they can win a lot of those battles because of the level of support they have, because of the finances they have, and things like that. Utah is losing out on some things right now, and there's a lot of people freaking out, but they're certainly not alone in that position. There are a lot of teams that are looking at, having to re-recruit a roster every year and having to pay players and then having players agree to a deal and then a week later saying, actually, that's not good enough because somebody came with something better. So there's all these non-binding agreements. It feels maybe unsustainable, but the reason I bring this to you is if it's going to be changed, teams like Texas and the Notre Dames and the Oregons, the ones that you just talked about as being true national championship contenders, they're also going to have to want it to change. They are the power players in college sports. So does the Texas athletic department look at this system and say, yeah, this isn't sustainable? Or are they like, we'll ride this train for as long as you let us?
I mean, right now they're going to ride the train for as long as possible because the way it's set up now, it benefits them. And look, I don't mean to say that, Texas is getting everybody they want based on NIL. Frankly, Steve Sarkisian's, system is really, they are recruiting the best high school kids, and those guys are the core, and they are allowing them to grow and mature over 2, 3, 4 years. And the portal for Texas is really just, hey, we need more, defensive line depth. Here's a guy or two. We had 3 wide receivers leave for the NFL. We got to fill at least 1 or 2 of those holes. So, but to your point, I mean, of course, a place like Texas where, NIL is essentially, look, it's the Wild West. There are no guardrails. I don't think Congress is getting involved anytime soon. So under these conditions, yes, a place like Texas, a place like Oregon, a place like Ohio State, which reportedly spent $20 million on its roster, of course, places like that stand to benefit. Those types of places do not want to see wholesale changes. And I think we're seeing that now because those are the teams that are still standing, the teams that are spending the most money and have the most resources and have the fertilest recruiting grounds. Those are the teams that stand to benefit under this current format.
Now, before I let you go, I think I know your answer here, but Arizona State is a great story in college football this year. They have one of the best running backs in the entire country in Cam Skattebo. The quarterback has emerged. They have at least one wide receiver that can cause you some problems. Do they have enough to beat Texas?
I don't think so. And I've looked at it. I mean, the numbers and the rosters and on paper, I just don't think they have enough horses to deal with Texas. Now, if Texas can not stop Cam Skattebo because nobody's really done that lately. If you can marginally disrupt Skattebo, I think Texas is going to be in fine shape. But to counter that, I will say Texas has not looked super impressive the last 3 or 4 games. Okay, the regular season finale at Texas A&M, they could not end that game. They turned the ball over twice inside the 12 or 13 yard line. Couldn't put Texas A&M away. They outgained Georgia 5-1 in the first half of the SEC title game. Only had 6 points to show for it. Wound up losing that game in overtime. Look, the Clemson game in the CFP here over the weekend, Texas was in full command of that game, but it was somehow a 1-score game with 12 minutes to go. So, I don't think that the elements are there for Arizona State to win this game, but Texas has sort of played down to teams that, they were dominating, but they couldn't come away. They just have not been able to close games here. So that is something that needs to be taken into account as you start considering what this Texas-Arizona State game is.
You're well documented on knowing that all fan bases are very reasonable and handle things. What is the reaction going to be in Austin, Texas, in this Texas fan community, if they don't make it to a national championship or win a national championship in a year where it looks like they have most of the pieces necessary?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I mean, this is one of a handful of places. And look, I've only been here 11 months. Okay, I haven't even covered one full season yet. It's been made very clear to me that the mandate here is championships.
Yeah.
They're not playing to get to the CFP quarters or the semis or the final. The mandate is championships. Now, there's going to be some disappointment. People are going to be mad. But I think there is, I don't want to say a majority, I think there is a sizable chunk of this fan base that wants to move on from Quinn Ewers, and they're very ready to see Arch Manning sort of take the reins here. So while there will be disappointment here, I think a lot of people are like really, really chomping at the bit to move on from Quinn and to get to Arch. And the 25 opener, when, Arch Manning will presumably be the opening day starter, the opener is at Ohio State. So people are going to get very, very excited for Arch once this season ends, whenever it ends, however it ends.
I hope you continue to have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy the games, and thank you, as always, for joining us on the show, Josh.
OC, James, I appreciate you guys. Be well.
On the Texas beat now, former Utah football insider, does a great job covering college football. And just to jump off what he said like 40 seconds ago, all right? Folks in that Texas fan base, now in its second round of college football playoff inclusion, folks in that Texas fan base are eager to move on from Quinn Ewers. The same Quinn Ewers who at one point was the number 1 overall recruit in the country, ended up at Texas after a brief stint, I believe, at Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. That quarterback they want to move on from has roughly 3,000, just under 3,000 yards passing, 2867, 26 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions in this 2024 season. That's a good season. Is it a phenomenal? That's on 66.5% completions. That's 7.6 yards per completion. That's a really, really good quarterback. Is it a national number 1 quarterback? Is it a national championship quarterback? To be determined, but you move the goalpost when you're talking about programs that are in the conversation that Texas is in versus the conversation that Utah's in, BYU's in, Arizona State, who's playing the same Texas team, is in. Like, they want to move on from that guy, James. It's
wild.
They're sick of seeing that, Quinn Ewers, what are we going to do with this guy? Well, he's pretty dang good at playing the position.
What can you do with a guy who completes it at almost 70%? Goodness gracious.
And I get it, right? Because there are better quarterbacks out there than Quinn Ewers. And the real problem is there might be a better quarterback on the roster than Quinn Ewers, and that's why the dynamic down there is so crazy. But, again, we're talking about a quarterback whose numbers are something that Utah fans, they would trade their own grandmother for a quarterback with numbers like that in this 2024 season.
Seriously. And if Quinn Ewers is the starting quarterback for Utah instead of all the injuries that happened this year and the inexperienced quarterbacks that ran out, and even last year, they're back-to-back conference champions probably. Like that, or really close to it. Like that's the kind of guy that Texas is saying, can we move on, please? And it reminds me of what was going on at my favorite team with the Ohio State last year with Kyle McCord. Yeah, did he look like a top quarterback compared to everyone else in the country? No, you wouldn't have said that he was the best quarterback in the country or even that close to it. But they went 11-1, and he was a true freshman. Like you got to think, okay, with another year or two of seasoning, you can be much better, right? And you were still 11-1. And they said, and most of the fan base, the head coach said, you know what, there's the door, Kyle McCord, and he ended up having a top 10 season for quarterback in yardage wise at Syracuse. And Will Howard's been about as good, maybe a little bit slightly better. I mean, numbers-wise, maybe, great completion percentage, but nothing like, wait, this is the guy this guy is supposedly way better than the guy we had last year. I mean, it reminds me a lot of that. It's gotten that crazy at some of these big programs, OC.
Well, it's that crazy here
it is
in
here,
Utah,
too, yeah.
Right, where, when you had Cam Rising starting to deal with the injury situation, the fan base is just like, hey, we're sick of it. Move on. We're done with this. It's like, well, hold on. Like, this is a guy who's given you some of the greatest moments you've ever watched as a Utah football fan. But the professionalization, again, a word that I don't think is a real word, but we use on this show, of college football has made us all pretty callous when it comes to this kind of thing. And by the way, we're talking about players. That's to say nothing of the expectations for somebody like Steve Sarkisian, somebody like Kirby Smart, somebody that is at a university that the only thing that is an acceptable outcome, the only way that you can get an A+ on your report card is by winning not a conference championship, but a national championship. It's a cutthroat business, right? And they're given a ton of support, and the expectations are that high, I think, in a lot of cases for good reason. Everyone throws around that $20 million like payroll for your favorite team, Ohio State, because Ryan Day was pretty public about what it costs.
Yeah.
Ryan Day, in kind of a rare moment of transparency, was just like, it costs $15 to $20 million to put together a championship roster in the modern era of college football. So everyone throws that, oh, well, can you compete with Ohio State? You know what I think, James? I think Oregon's paying more like $25 or $30 million this year, and it's going to go up every single year. I think Texas is on that same tack because their backup quarterback is pretty dang expensive. Their backup quarterback is making more than all but maybe one starting quarterback in the country this year. Their backup quarterback's making more than their starting quarterback. So you can't say like, oh, well, yeah, Ohio State is the gold standard. They're among the best when it comes to NIL. They're not alone. I don't even think they're number one when it comes to NIL. They're just the only program that the coach has come out and said, this is really kind of our number. That is bananas, right? Because when you look at it, again, through the lens of where BYU's at, where Utah is at, Utah's never going to have a $20 million NIL system under the current construction of the collective, under the current distribution of funds. They're never going to have an extra $20 million. And before you start texting me, well, revenue sharing is coming to college football, and that's going to be $20 million plus, stop, okay? That's for the entire athletic department, all athletes in all sports. And by the way, that goes to everyone. So all that does is that's the rising tide that lifts all boats. So if you want to separate yourself the way that Oregon has, the way that Alabama has, the way that Georgia has, the way that Ohio State has, you then have to have a collective. You have to have an NIL situation on top of whatever the revenue sharing deal is to continue to bolster your roster and to continue to give you an advantage competitively by giving you the best players in the country. That's where we're at right now in college football. And I say that Utah can't get there under the current construction of things because that's just the truth. And as hard as it is to hear, and as valiant as the effort is for Utah and its boosters and, you know, the Garf family and the Eccles family and everyone who pours a bunch of money into those programs continuously, as valiant as that effort is, it's just not on the same level as what Texas is able to do and Oregon's able to do right now. It's just different.
Yeah,
so under that,
and that's
under
that's not to say that Utah will never get to that point. And we're just saying right now they're not anywhere near that point, and it's going to be an uphill climb because these other schools have had these kind of resources for a long time. Utah's just starting to try to get there.
And if you haven't heard The Drive with Spence Checketts, and Spence has been kind of talking about this, there's something brewing at the University of Utah right now behind the scenes that I have to emphasize again. The current situation with NIL keeps Utah in like the second category, right? You've got the Blue Bloods, the way up there's the national championship contenders every single year that are paying big time money, and then you've got Utah in that category of like, hey, we want to support the efforts of a conference championship every single year, and we want to have a shot. We want to be in the college football playoff, but it's not the same as that Oregon level of contribution, right? That's the current model. This model that is brewing and potentially going to be put in place would be an effort to get Utah to that same level. And you can't just make the same phone calls to the same families and the same boosters and the same businesses and say, hey, guys, like, I know you already give us a lot. Give us a little bit more, please. You can't just keep doing that. And there's an acknowledgement in the athletic department at Utah that you can't just continue to do that. That's not going to work. So this underground plot that is a plan so far and as nothing is concrete as yet would be the thing that could get Utah to that level. But even when you get to that level, you then have to be making the right decisions on players that you're committing these funds to And more importantly, you're going to have to be making the right decisions on the overall construction of your program, from the coach, GM, all the way down to the last player on that 105-man roster who is going to be getting a paycheck from the school. That's different than it was. So Utah is adjusting. Does it take time? Absolutely. Will it continue to take time even if you get this groundswell that I think is coming sometime this summer? Yeah. You still need to keep adjusting. But
yeah, because as Utah's making moves, you know that these other schools nationally, these blue bloods, are also making moves, and they're already way far ahead. So it like I said before, it's going to be an uphill battle, but Utah, of course, can get there.
As much as I'm bummed out that Utah is no longer in the Pac-12, that the Pac-12 died, one of the silver linings there is that you are no longer in direct competition with Oregon with all this stuff. Like, eventually,
that's a good point.
if your season goes well, you got to face the Ducks in a college football playoff, right? But one of the benefits for Utah is you're not going head to head on a conference level, on a week in, week out level, with a aging and desperate Phil Knight, a billionaire who is saying, I will do whatever it takes to get championships to my school right now. Like, Utah doesn't have that, and we shouldn't expect Utah, or really any other school in the country, to have that. Oregon has that right now. Oregon has a blank checkbook at the disposal of not only their football program, but their basketball program, their track and field program. Phil Knight is just like, he's in his mid-80s, and he wants to see Oregon at the top of the top before he goes out in his blaze of glory. So, talking with Josh Newman, I'm glad we got a few minutes with him. Texas is one of those teams who has set a certain standard. You're not going to be able to do it the exact same way, but that target, that number next to Texas's name, you got to try and find a way to be that if you're Utah, if you're BYU. If you're Arizona State, this year has been awesome, and they won a Big 12 championship. To sustain that level of success, you have to be able to say, when Oregon calls your best players, says like, hey, man, we saw what you did. I got $1.5 million for you to come up here. You got to be able to say, wait, I can match that. Stay here. And that's why guardrails need to be put in place, and that's why the system has to change. But as I said with Josh Newman, the system is only going to change when those blue bloods get on board with the system needing to change. And that's going to be tough sledding.
$1.5 million and 1 penny. How about that?
That is an Office reference, I believe?
Yay! Look at you. Getting the references.
The little Dwight Schrute auction bidding. That's wonderful. All right, we're down here at the Orem Toyota dealership. It is a beautiful spot to be, even on a cloudy, rainy, drizzly day. I say it's a beautiful spot to be because the showroom is warm and fantastic, and we have pizza for you if you want to come by. We have some giveaways, too. And more importantly, they have phenomenal deals going on right now on cars, trucks, and SUVs. Logan is the internet sales manager down here at Orem Toyota. So how many sales are happening starting from that internet sales point all the way through to sign on the dotted line versus the traditional walk-in off the street?
I mean, right now I would say 40 to 45% of our business are individuals that send a lead to us. They don't call us. They don't walk in the door. And then phone, which you could pretty well count as internet right now, is going to be another 20 to 30% of that. So realistically, the cars that we sell every month, maybe 30% of them, I would say, are walk-in traffic. A lot of that comes online.
And that's so just like old people who don't know about the internet are the ones still buying cars.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many of them are diving in and buying cars online these days. It's actually pretty incredible. Honestly, we do have a great location. we're just off the freeway here in Orem, off of the University Parkway exit. So we get a lot of foot traffic from that. We're right by UVU, and we've got a Walmart next to us, so we get a lot of just natural traffic that shows up at our dealership.
One thing that I love about the Toyota lineup of vehicles is that you really have something that checks the box for whatever the consumer's desire is, right? Like, there are a lot of people out there who need a good price. There are folks out there who are worried about fuel economy and the environment. There are folks out there who need performance. They need a car or truck, especially living here in Utah, that can get them out into the backcountry, get them out to camp, and that can tow the boat for them. And because Toyota has the full lineup of vehicles, and of course you guys distribute that full lineup of vehicles, there's really something for everyone here.
Absolutely. Just like you mentioned, if you're looking for something to tow, if you're looking for something that's really efficient, I'll say this. I think Toyota has it right in terms of the way that they're looking at the future. In the Toyota lineup, you'll see more hybrid technology than just full EV. Toyota, I think you could argue that they're the grandfathers of hybrid technology. They were building Priuses in the early 2000s, late 90s, and look what they've come to today. You've got I think it was had to have been 6 months ago. I was renting a full-size Avalon that was a hybrid, and I drove it around Seattle for like 4 or 5 days, and when it was all said and done, I put $20 worth of gas in it at the end of the week. So pretty impressive with that. And now the hybrid technology exists in the trucks. More of a performance version of the hybrid with that. But even in our Land Cruisers, got I think a new Land Cruiser is 6,700 pounds, and it's rated at 24, 25 on the highway.
It's pretty awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah. If you're in the market for a starter vehicle, they've got you covered. If you're in the market for that, this is my dream car that I've been eyeing since I was 16 years old. They probably got that down here for you as well. Come in, tell them OC sent you. 1400 Sand Hill, just east of the freeway off that University Parkway exit down here in Orem. Tell Logan and the rest that you want their best, and they'll give it to you. Thanks for having us down here.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. One last thing. If you're not in the market today or this week, hop onto our website. We've got a special offer for anybody that visits our website. Just click Unlock Price, and you'll find out what that offer is, and we'll honor that not only today but next month whenever you want to come in and buy a car.
What is that website?
It is oremtoyota.com.
oremtoyota.com. Take advantage of all the offers right now. Come down here before I'm gone. I got half an hour left. We got pizza to give away. We got T-shirts. We got some swag. Come say hello. Sean O'Connell Show continues on a Friday with the airing of grievances. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. It is a season for Festivus, and we're going to air some grievances here, down here at Toyota Orem. No grievances with Toyota Orem. They got great deals going on. $289 on a Tacoma lease. You can get into a Toyota Tacoma for $289 a month. Even the Tundras, the big full-size pickup truck, only going to run you slightly over $400 a month on the lease. So now's the time. Take advantage of the great deals going on down here. 1400 Sand Hill is the address down in Orem, east of the freeway off the University Parkway exit. James, I'll let you air your grievances, but I asked you to pull some sound from Jim Larinaga earlier today. We're going to air that. We're going to play that because I have a grievance associated with the quote he gave us. But before I ask you to play that, tell me, what is the grievance that you bring to the table, a holiday edition?
It's a holiday grievance, which is appropriate because it is Festivus. Happy Festivus to everyone who celebrates. But I'm watching Red One. Have you seen Red One?
I've not seen Red One yet. That's the new Christmas movie with The Rock.
Yeah, and the farmer's insurance guy plays Santa.
Okay.
He's got a weight room in Santa's village, in his Santa penthouse suite. It's like a very modernized. It's not a Santa village. It's a Santa metropolis at the North Pole in Red One, and he's got a weight room, and he's swole, and he's buff. He looks awesome, but that's not Santa.
Wait. Okay, the two things that are awesome about this. First of all, that you don't like this interpretation of Santa Claus.
I do not. Also, at least the look of it. The actor who's in the farmer's insurance commercials. I can't think of his name right now. He was good.
So great. That's what's so great about this is that you are calling J.K. Simmons, who I believe is an Oscar winner.
Well, yeah, I know he's from other things, but that my generation knows him as the farmer's insurance guy.
He's the farmer's insurance guy. That's so great. Never mind his Oscar turn in Whiplash, okay? He is the farmer's insurance guy.
Hey, what have you done for me lately, OC?
Yeah, no, you're right.
He's talking insurance. No,
never mind that he was J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man.
That's actually a good point.
Franchises. No, he is the farmer's insurance guy. That's phenomenal.
No, yeah, you're right. A little unintentional comedy there for me, but yeah, I don't know. Like, he did a great job because, as you noted, he's a fantastic actor. But he's just, I mean, The Rock is already, he's a giant elf who's his bodyguard, basically. Like, we already have enough swole.
Okay,
Santa can be regularly jolly with the big belly, okay? He can do that.
I'm sorry, Red One, you're losing me if you cast The Rock to be an elf. All right?
Yeah. But it's a good movie, though. I will say it did not ruin my enjoyment of the movie, but that was a jarring thing for me at first. I'm like, the dude has a weight room, and he's working out, and he's pounding protein shakes.
All right.
Like, I don't know about this Red One.
All right. I'm going to air a grievance here with the Big Battery Syndicate, okay? Christmas is a time where you end up purchasing little gadgety-type gifts, especially if you have kids. You get, like, the little remote control cars and things like that, James. And let me tell you something. We got these little unicorn RC cars for our daughters, all right? They're like, it's 2 buttons on the control. One goes straight. The other one does, like, a 3-point backup turn. They're not complicated by any stretch of the imagination. They're just these tiny little podunk, pathetic, simple RC cars, right? And they come as a pair. So there's 2. So both of them have something to play with. One's blue and one's pink. It's great. How many batteries? And this thing is probably, it's like, you know, the unicorn in the car and the controller all together. If you stack it up, the box itself is like as big as a shoebox. 2 controllers, 2 unicorn cars, 2 little unicorn figures. How many batteries do you think it takes to run that operation, James? How many batteries?
Like 2 at the most, I'd wonder?
Yeah, you would think
2,
that,
3,
right?
maybe?
10 AA batteries. Okay?
Hey,
Which
Amazon is a great place to buy batteries in bulk, my guy.
Not cheap, all right? Batteries are not cheap. And I am fully convinced that Big Battery, the whole battery industry, the battery conglomerates are like, hey, you know what? I want you to make these little RC cars that actually don't need this many batteries, but just put like endless battery slots in there, so they have to fill them up or the car doesn't work. Because you're screwed. You buy the thing, your kid wants the thing, it's the cutest little thing, they're so excited to play with it, you can't then be like, oh, sorry, no batteries. That's where the real expense comes in. So that's the grievance I'm going to air for you. 877-353-0700 if you'd like to air a grievance on the Sean O'Connell Show today. You can also tweet them at me at RealOC Sports. James, I ask you to fire up some sound for me. Jim Larinaga is walking away from his head coaching job at the University of Miami, and he explained some of his reasoning why in a press conference. Do we have the sound?
We do.
Hit it.
I loved the game, and I loved the university that much. I felt like, okay, there's one thing you got to constantly ask yourself. Are you going to give everything you have, the commitment that it deserves, 100% of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally? But I'm exhausted. I've tried every which way to keep this going. And I know I'm going to be asked a lot of questions, but I want to answer them before I'm even asked. What shocked me beyond belief was after we made it to the Final Four just 18 months ago, the very first time I met with the players, 8 of them decided they were going to put their name in the portal and leave. I said, don't you like it yet? No, I love it. I love Miami. It's great. But the opportunity to make money someplace else created a situation that you have to begin to ask yourself as a coach, what is this all about? And the answer is it's become professional.
Okay. Do you know where this man was before he took the head coaching job at Miami?
That'd be George Mason, one of the biggest upsets in tournament history, 11 seed to the Final Four.
Correct. Do you know that was the jumping off point for him to get a more lucrative job at Miami? So he made a Final Four run as a coach, and then he effectively went to the players and said, actually, I'm going to go somewhere that I can make more money. And he left, and he went to Miami. And now that he has to deal with that, he has to be on the receiving end of that news after a stellar season. He doesn't like it. He wants to leave. He's 75 years old, and he's walking away, James, not in an offseason. He's walking away not in the immediate aftermath of a NCAA tournament lost. He's walking away right before his team rounds into the most important part of its season. He's quitting on his team because he doesn't like the atmosphere that he has been a beneficiary of for so many years. It's now changing. This is a grievance. I'm with you. I'm with you that these changes are uncomfortable and that they're probably not even in the best interest of the long-term survival of college sports as we know them. But as a coach, as someone who's a multimillionaire, because of this exact system, you can't quit because you don't like the system now. You certainly can't do it. This is he is lamenting in not so many words the changing attitude of these players. And he's an old school guy who's now quitting on a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds because he doesn't like how it is, and he probably doesn't like how they're talking to him. He probably doesn't like the way that their agents are now part of the scenario. Okay, but you're quitting. Make this decision before the year starts. Make this decision in the offseason. Have the same reasoning if you want to, and let us have a discussion about whether or not you are entitled to that kind of an opinion when you're a multimillionaire because the rules were always flexible for you and inflexible for the players. But please, there is no world in which it is a good thing for a head coach to quit in season on a team, even if he doesn't like the writing on the wall, even if he doesn't like the direction the college sports are headed. This man is sending the message that he will lament if anyone else does it. If a player quits on him, and I'm sure through a long career at Davidson, at Virginia, at Bowling Green, at George Mason, and at Miami, he had players walk into his office and quit midseason, and I guarantee you he talks you-know-what about that player. And now he's doing the same thing. You're supposed to be the adult in the room when you're a head coach. Grievance aired.
Yeah, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but back in your day, did coaches quit mid-season because they didn't like the players' attitudes? Is that what happened back in your day?
Yeah, that's effectively what this is. Like, it's become professional. What do you mean yeah, we know it's become professional. You've always been a professional. You know what a professional does? Finishes out the job in the contract. This is nuts. Because
it's crazy.
Coaches don't like that players have this, and I don't have the ability to, like, flip a coin and flip a switch and be heading one direction and tell you one thing and then 5 minutes later tell you something else. Coaches don't like that. A lot of fans don't like that. I don't like that. But the answer, two wrongs don't make a right. The answer is not to be like, well, I don't like this, so I'm quitting, guys. See you later. This is somebody else's problem now. It's become professional. Jim, you are showing us that for you, it's absolutely just about the contract. It's just about professional because you are setting the worst example possible. And there was, at least in some programs, there was this idea that you're not just there to win games. You're not just there to cash checks. You're also there to develop people into a better version of themselves by setting an example, by teaching them how to work through adversity and things like that. And you're 75 years old, and you're saying, like, you know what? Even though I did this exact same thing back in 2011, when I went to the Final Four and I took a better job for more money, now you're seeing if you can do the same thing, and I don't like it. 8 of you came into my office and did the same thing that I did, and I don't like that. I'm quitting. Sorry, Coach. I'm not on board.
I mean, no one's disagreeing with his assertion that that's ridiculous, that you make a Final Four run, which might have been the only one in Miami's history. At least they haven't had that many. And half the team says they're going to enter the transfer portal the next year. No one's disagreeing that is ridiculous, but it's even more ridiculous to quit on your team for the exact same reasons that you said was wrong for your players to quit on you.
It's crazy. Anyway, grievance aired. That's what I got for you.
I feel unburdened, OC. Thank you.
877-353-0700 or at Real OC Sports to air your own grievances. We'll wrap things up on the other side. We're down here at the Orem Toyota dealership, formerly Brent Brown Toyota. Customer service is the name of the game down here. They will take care of you. You can contact them online. You can come in. You can call. You can send a carrier pigeon. They will get you a great deal on a brand new Toyota or on a certified pre-owned as well. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Wrapping things up here at Orem Toyota. Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday, sending you into the weekend. Tomorrow you've got BYU Colorado in a bowl game, but that's not until 5:30, so it might be the right weekend to come down, check out the selection of Toyotas. Logan sitting down with me one more time to talk about all the great deals. Great selection of Tundras and Tacomas. You talked about the Corollas. 4Runners on the lot right now?
We've got a few CPOs. Certified pre-owned, sorry.
Okay. I don't
car
know.
guardian. Or car, yeah.
I don't know all the car jargon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay. So, but options if you're in the market for a truck, for a car, for an SUV, got a little bit of everything.
We got everything. We can fit any budget. We have lenders with we have relationships with over 70 different lenders. So hey, even if you think you can't buy a car, like, give us a shot. We'd love to give you a shot. We also, as far as on the kind of that side of it, we're unique in the fact that we actually we only do soft pulls at our dealership. And so if you're curious about can I even buy a car, it's not going to ding your credit at our dealership regardless. So
great.
Nice benefit.
So financing options, even if you don't go with the $299 available right now through Toyota financing, you've got options with other lenders.
Absolutely. We've got great relationships with a lot of local credit unions. A lot of people think, I'll just go see my credit union. Well, I mean, you do a loan with your credit union, once every 4 or 5 years. We do multiple every day. So we have a little bit more leverage when it comes to negotiating a rate down for you, and we'll make sure that you get the best deal possible.
No matter what your needs are, they will find a way to fulfill them for you. Come check it out before you watch that Alamo Bowl contest between BYU and Colorado. Logan, thanks for having us down here today.
Thanks for being here. Go Utes.
Go Utes. You don't hear that often down here in Utah County, but this man's been waving the red flag for us down here for a long time.
I grew up watching. I think I was playing Pee Wee football when Alex Smith had Urban Meyer showed up. So. Been a long time fan. This year's been kind of
that's all right.
Kind of tough, but
it makes me feel a little old because I was on that team. But by the way, he just said "Go Utes" when Ben Criddle and the whole BYU crew's sitting right next to him. So that's he's a true blue fan.
Hey, my wife's family, they're all loyal BYU fans, and I'll be honest with you, not having the rivalry for the last little while has probably been a good thing for sure. I can go to more BYU games and be all right. So
now the rivalry's back, though.
It is.
All right, come down here, 1400 Sand Hill Road in Orem, just east of the freeway off that University Parkway exit, south side of the intersection. Quick little right turn, second right-hand turn, and you're here at the best Toyota dealership in our state. Orem Toyota, formerly Brent Brown. Tell them OC sent you. Thanks to everyone who joined me on the show. Thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to James and company back there in our Broadway studios. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.